The cargo ship named Starling dropped out of hyperspace with a soft hum. Inside the cockpit, stretched her arms above her head and yawned. The journey from Earth had taken 3 weeks, and she was tired of eating dried food and sleeping in a tiny cabin. "We're here," said her older brother. He was sitting in the pilot's seat, his hands moving across the control panel. "7, biggest trade station in this sector." Looked through the window. The station was enormous. It looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in space, with hundreds of lights blinking along its surface. Ships of all sizes flew around it like insects around a lamp. Some were small like theirs. Others were massive warships that made the Starling look like a toy. "Lots of traffic today," said quietly. "Trade season," replied. "Everyone comes here to buy and sell. We deliver our cargo, pick up the new shipment, and leave in 2 days. Simple job." But had learned long ago that nothing in space was ever simple. They docked at Port 17. The docking fees were expensive, but paid without complaint. Running a small shipping company was hard work, and they needed every contract they could get. Their parents had died 5 years ago in a mining accident on Mars, leaving the two siblings with nothing but a small ship and each other. The station's interior was bright and loud. Aliens of dozens of species walked through the wide corridors. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had too many eyes or too many legs. Had seen many strange beings in her travels, but 7 had more variety than anywhere else. They found their contact in the market district, a small creature with soft gray fur and large golden eyes. Her name was Bora, and she belonged to a species called the... They looked like cats that had learned to walk on 2 legs and wear clothes. Bora ran toward them with a happy smile. "You made it. I was worried the patrols might stop you." Frowned. "What are they doing here?" Bora's ears flattened against her head, a sign of fear new. "They arrived last week. A diplomatic delegation, they say, but they act like they own the station. They take what they want and hurt anyone who complains." Looked around the market. Now she noticed things she had missed before. Many shops were closed. The aliens who were still working looked nervous, and in the corners she saw tall figures in black armor watching everyone. There were creatures. They stood over 2 meters tall, with hard shells covering their bodies and 4 arms ending in sharp claws. Their eyes were compound, like a fly's eyes, and they showed no emotion. Their empire was powerful and aggressive. They believed they were superior to all other species, especially mammals. "Stay away from them," Bora whispered. "Please. They're looking for reasons to hurt people." Nodded. "We'll keep our heads down. Just business, nothing else." They spent the morning unloading cargo and filling out paperwork. Boring work, but safe work. Preferred it that way. She had seen enough violence in her life. The 3 years she spent in Earth Defense Forces had taught her many things, but the most important lesson was simple. The best fight was the one you avoided. By afternoon, they were done. Went to negotiate their next contract while walked through the market with Bora. They wanted to show her a shop that sold Earth coffee, a rare luxury this far from human space. They never reached the shop. A commotion ahead made them stop. A crowd had gathered in a small plaza, but no one was moving forward. They were all watching something with fear in their eyes. Pushed through gently until she could see. 5 soldiers surrounded a small merchant stall. The merchant was an old alien with blue skin and trembling hands. His goods were scattered on the ground, broken pottery and torn fabrics. "You will pay the protection fee," one soldier said. His voice was harsh and clicking. "All merchants pay. This is the rule now." "I already paid this week," the old merchant said. "Please, I have nothing left." The soldier grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. "Then you will pay with pain." Nobody moved, nobody helped. They were all too scared. Felt Bora grab her arm. "Don't," they begged. "Please, they'll kill you." But was already walking forward. She didn't run. She didn't shout. She just walked calmly into the circle of soldiers and stopped. Put him down, she said. The soldiers turned to look at her. The one holding the merchant laughed. It was an ugly sound like rocks grinding together. What is this? A human? He looked at his companions. The soft little mammal wants to play hero. I'm not playing anything, said. Her voice was flat and calm. I'm asking you nicely. Put him down and walk away. Another soldier stepped closer to her. He was bigger than the others with scars on his shell. Do you know who we are, tiny creature? We have conquered 200 star systems. What has your species done? You barely left your own planet. We left our planet because it tried to kill us every day for millions of years, said. And we survived. That's what we do. The soldier leaned down until his face was close to hers. His breath smelled like rotting meat. You are small. You are weak. You are nothing. Looked into his compound eyes. She didn't blink. She didn't step back. I'm warning you once, just once. Leave these people alone. Take your soldiers and go back to your ship. Because you really, really don't want to see what my planet taught me. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the soldiers laughed. All of them, laughing at the small human woman who dared to threaten them. The first soldier dropped the old merchant who crawled away quickly. Then he pointed at, remember this one. She's funny. Maybe we'll visit her later and teach her some manners. They walked away, still laughing. Bora rushed aside. Are you crazy? They could have killed you. They could have tried, said softly. Across the plaza, an officer had watched the entire scene. His name was, and he was the commander of the delegation's military forces. Unlike his soldiers, he wasn't laughing. He had seen something in the human woman's eyes, something that made him uncomfortable. No fear, no anger, just patience. The patience of a predator waiting for the right moment. Made a note to research Earth's planetary classification. Something told him there was more to these humans than their small size suggested. He was right. The next morning, they were everywhere. Watched them from a food stall where she sat eating breakfast. They moved through the market in groups of 3 or 4, stopping at every shop and demanding payment. The merchants paid quickly and kept their eyes down. Nobody wanted trouble. Sat across from her, drinking something that was supposed to be tea but tasted like hot water and sadness. I heard what happened yesterday, he said quietly. Are you trying to get us killed? I just told them to stop. You threatened them, 5 armed soldiers. What were you thinking? Chewed her food slowly. I was thinking that someone needed to say something. Everyone on this station is afraid. They let them do whatever they want. Because they will kill them if they don't, leaned forward. We're not soldiers anymore, we're cargo haulers. We deliver boxes and get paid, that's it. No heroics, no fighting, just survival. Didn't answer. She knew her brother was right, but she also knew that some things were more important than survival. Across the station, in the diplomatic quarters, Commander sat in front of a computer terminal. He had spent the entire night researching, and what he found worried him greatly. Earth, the human, planetary classification, Category 9. The classification system measured how dangerous a planet was to life. Category 1 was a paradise. Perfect weather, no predators, gentle environment. Category 5 was harsh but survivable. Category 10 was instant death for any living thing. Earth was Category 9. Read the details with growing concern. The planet had extreme temperature variations, massive storms that could destroy cities. The ground itself moved and shook, creating disasters called earthquakes. The water was full of creatures that could kill in seconds. The land had predators that hunted in packs using intelligence and tools. And the worst part, the dominant species, humans, had evolved to survive all of it. They were persistent hunters. They didn't run fast or have sharp claws. Instead, they chased their prey for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They could survive injuries that would kill most species. They healed broken bones and kept moving. They ate almost anything. They adapted to any environment. Their bodies produced something called adrenaline during danger. It made them faster, stronger, and able to ignore pain. They also produced a chemical that helped them bond emotionally with other creatures, even creatures that could kill them. They kept predators as pets. They rode on the backs of large animals. They formed partnerships with other species based on loyalty and love. And when they fought, they didn't stop, ever. They would sacrifice their own lives to protect their group. They would walk into certain death with smiles on their faces. They had a word for it: courage. Closed the files and sat back in his chair. His compound eyes reflected the light of the screen. "This is very bad," he said to himself. He went to find Ambassador. The ambassador was in his private chamber, eating a meal of live insects. He was larger than most, with golden patterns on his shell that marked him as nobility. He had served the Dominion for 200 years and had never failed a mission. "Commander," said without looking up, "what brings you here?" "Ambassador, I need to discuss the humans on this station." "The humans," made a sound of amusement. "You mean that tiny female who made threats yesterday? I heard about her. Quite entertaining." "Sir, I've been researching there. Earth is a Category 9. Their species is far more dangerous than we assumed." Finally looked at him. "Dangerous? Commander, have you seen them? They're barely taller than our young. They have no claws, no armor, no venom. They're made of soft flesh that tears easily. How could they possibly be dangerous?" "Their psychology, sir. They don't respond to threats the way other species do. Fear doesn't stop them. It makes them more aggressive. And they have something called pack bonding. They will fight to the death to protect beings they care about, even beings of other species." The ambassador stood up slowly. He towered over, even though the commander was tall for a. "Are you suggesting we should be afraid of them?" "I'm suggesting we should be careful." His eyes showed contempt. "Commander, the Dominion has conquered species far more dangerous than humans. We have burned worlds and broken empires. These creatures are nothing. They have barely explored their own solar system. They have no significant military presence in this sector. They are alone, weak, and irrelevant." The female showed no fear when surrounded by our soldiers. "Because she is stupid, nothing more," waved his claw dismissively. "Continue your duties, Commander. If the human causes more trouble, we will simply remove her, permanently." Wanted to argue, but he knew it was pointless. The ambassador had made his decision. All could do was watch and wait. And prepare. Meanwhile, had her own meeting. She found in the medical bay on level 12 was another human, a doctor who had worked on the station for 3 years. She treated patients of any species and asked no questions. The other aliens trusted her. "I need information," said. Looked up from her work. She was older than, with tired eyes and steady hands. "What kind of information?" "Biology, weaknesses, pressure points, anything that might help if things get bad." Studied her for a long moment. "You're planning something." "I'm preparing for something. There's a difference." The doctor sighed and pulled up files on her screen. "Their shells look strong, but they're actually quite brittle at the joints. Here, here, and here." She pointed to diagrams. "Their nervous system is slower than ours. They react about half a second later than humans do in a fight, and their pain tolerance is very low. They evolved on a peaceful world with few predators. They never developed resistance to suffering." Memorized everything. "One more thing," said. "They're arrogant. They've never met a species that truly challenged them. They don't know what it's like to face something they can't easily defeat. That's their biggest weakness." "Thank you." The doctor's voice was serious. "Whatever you're planning, be careful. I don't want to see you on my operating table." Smiled slightly. "I don't plan to be there." That night sat in the cargo bay of the Starling. The ship was quiet, was asleep in his cabin. She opened a hidden compartment in the floor and looked at what was inside. Her old equipment from Earth Defense Forces. Combat gear, weapons, and tools that didn't look like tools to anyone who didn't know better. She had promised herself she would never use them again. But some promises were made to be broken. She closed the compartment and sat in the darkness, humming a soft song from her childhood. Tomorrow would be an interesting day. The message came at noon. Ambassador requested the presence of the human female named at the diplomatic quarters. The message said it was an invitation, but everyone knew what invitations really meant. Read the message 3 times. His face was pale. "You're not going." "I have to." "No, you don't. We can leave right now, take the ship and run. Find another station, another sector, somewhere they can't find us." Touched her brother's arm gently. "And then what? We run forever. We hide from every bully in the galaxy because we're too scared to stand up. I'd rather run forever than watch my sister die." "I'm not going to die." She smiled at him, the same smile she had when they were children and she was about to do something dangerous. "Trust me." She walked to the diplomatic quarters alone. The corridors were empty. Word had spread quickly about the ambassador's invitation, and everyone was staying far away. 4 guards waited at the entrance. They were big, armed, and looked at her like she was an insect to be crushed. "Human," one of them said, "the ambassador is expecting you. Follow us." They led her through a maze of hallways until they reached a large circular room. The walls were decorated with trophies from conquered worlds. Flags, weapons, skulls of strange creatures, a reminder of power. Ambassador stood in the center of the room. He was even larger than remembered. His shell gleamed under the lights, and his compound eyes watched her with cold intelligence. "Ah, the brave little human," he said. His voice was deep and mocking. "Thank you for accepting my invitation." "Did I have a choice?" Laughed. "No, you didn't. Please sit." There were no chairs, just the cold floor. Another insult. "Remain standing. What do you want?" The ambassador began to walk in slow circles around her. The 4 guards stayed by the walls, blocking every exit. "I want to understand," you said. "My soldiers tell me you threatened them yesterday, a tiny creature like you threatening warriors of the Dominion. I found it amusing at first, but then I heard you've been talking to the other merchants, encouraging them to resist, telling them they don't have to be afraid." "I told them the truth." "You told them lies," stopped in front of her. "Fear is the natural response to superior power. We are superior, therefore they should fear us. You are teaching them something unnatural, something dangerous." Looked up at him. She had to tilt her head back because he was so much taller, but her voice was steady. "On my world, we have many predators. Lions, wolves, sharks, big animals with sharp teeth that want to eat us. Do you know what we do when we meet them?" "Run away, I assume." "No, we look them in the eyes, we make ourselves big, we make noise, because predators expect fear. When they don't see fear, they get confused, they hesitate, and in that moment of hesitation, we strike." His eyes narrowed. "Are you calling me a predator?" "I'm calling you a bully, and bullies are just predators who never learned that some prey fights back." The room was silent. The guards shifted uncomfortably. Ambassador leaned down until his face was close to hers. She could see every detail of his compound eyes, thousands of tiny lenses reflecting her image. "You are very brave," he whispered, "or very stupid. Let me tell you something about we have ruled this sector of space for 5,000 years. We have destroyed civilizations older than your entire species. We burn planets that displease us. And you think your little speech will scare me." "I don't want to scare you," said. "I want to warn you. This is your first warning. Take your soldiers and leave this station. Leave these people alone. Go find somewhere else to play conqueror. And if I refuse, then you'll see what my planet taught me, and you really don't want that." Straightened up, his voice dripped with contempt. "I think you need a lesson in respect. Guards, teach her." The 4 guards moved forward. Didn't run, she didn't scream. She didn't even look scared. She just waited. The first guard reached for her with his upper arms. He was fast for her, but was faster. She ducked under his grab, stepped close, and drove her fist into the joint between his chest and arm. The shell cracked. The guard screamed. Half a second, that's how much slower reflexes were. Half a second was all she needed. The second guard swung a claw at her head, dropped to the floor, rolled between his legs, and came up behind him. Her fingers found the nerve cluster at the base of his skull. She pressed hard. The guard collapsed. The third guard drew a weapon, was already moving. She grabbed his arm, twisted it at an angle his anatomy wasn't designed for, and used his own momentum to throw him into the fourth guard. They crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs. She pulled a small knife from her sleeve. Where had it come from? Nobody had searched her. Nobody had thought the tiny human needed to be searched. In 3 seconds, 4 warriors were on the ground, one unconscious, one screaming in pain, 2 struggling to get up. Walked calmly to Ambassador. He hadn't moved. He seemed frozen. She pressed the knife gently against his throat. The shell there was thin, vulnerable. "This is still your first warning," she said. Her voice was soft, almost kind. "I'm giving you a chance because I don't like killing, but understand something, Ambassador. On Earth, everything wants to kill us. The weather, the animals, the plants, even our own sun. We didn't survive by being the strongest or the fastest. We survived because we don't quit, we don't forget, and we don't forgive." She pressed the knife a little harder. A tiny drop of green blood appeared. "Leave this station. Leave these people alone. If you don't, the next time we meet won't be a warning." She stepped back. The knife disappeared back into her sleeve. "There won't be a third warning," she said. Then she turned and walked out of the room. Nobody tried to stop her. The guards were still on the floor. Ambassador was still frozen in place, touching the small cut on his throat. He had conquered worlds. He had broken empires. He had never known fear. Until today. Commander found him there 20 minutes later. The ambassador's hands were shaking. "Sir," asked carefully, "what happened?" Looked at him. His compound eyes were wide and strange. "Get me everything we have on Earth," he said. "Everything about their military history, their wars, their weapons." "I already prepared a report, sir. Shall I summarize?" "No, I want to read it myself, all of it." Nodded and left to retrieve the files. Stood alone in the trophy room, surrounded by the symbols of his conquests. For the first time in his long life, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Ambassador did not leave. Instead, he called for reinforcements. The warship Dominator arrived at 2 days later. It was massive, nearly a kilometer long, covered in weapons and armor. It took position near the station like a predator watching its prey. The message came to every screen on the station at the same time. "Attention! The human female who attacked Ambassador must be surrendered within 12 hours. If she is not delivered to custody, the station will be. All residents will be held responsible. This is not a negotiation." Panic spread like fire. Watch the chaos from the window of the Starling. Aliens ran through the corridors, screaming and crying. Some tried to leave on their ships, but fighters blocked the exits. Nobody was allowed to go. Stood beside her, his face was hard. "We need to turn ourselves in." "No. They'll kill everyone, thousands of innocent people. We can't let that happen. If we surrender, they'll kill us. Then they'll take over the station anyway. They don't keep promises. They see weakness and they take advantage." "Then what do we do? Fight a warship with a cargo hauler?" Turned to look at him. Her eyes were calm, but behind them was something fierce. "We fight smart. We use what we have, and we make them understand that humans are not prey." She spent the next 3 hours gathering allies. Bora was first. The little was terrified, but she refused to abandon her friends. "Tell me what to do," she said. "I'm not a fighter, but I can help." Came next. The doctor brought medical supplies and information. I've been analyzing their ship specifications. The Dominator has strong shields, but their life support system has weaknesses. If we could upload a virus. Then the others. An engineer named who knew the station's systems better than anyone. A merchant who had hidden weapons in his shop for years, waiting for the right moment. A group of refugee workers who had escaped tyranny once and refused to submit again. Watched his sister work. She moved from group to group, listening, planning, organizing. This was not the quiet cargo hauler he knew. This was someone else. Someone who had been trained for exactly this situation. "You never told me," he said quietly. "What exactly did you do in Earth Defense Forces?" Didn't look at him. "I did what was necessary." That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give. By evening, they had a plan. But the moved first. A squad of soldiers broke into the residential section, looking for humans to capture. They found a family hiding in a storage room. A mother, a father, and their teenage daughter named. The soldiers dragged them into the corridor. The father tried to fight and was beaten to the ground. The mother screamed, stood frozen, tears running down her face. "Bring them to the ship," the squad leader ordered. "We'll use them as examples." "You'll do nothing of the kind." The soldiers turned, stood at the end of the corridor. She was alone, no weapons visible, just a small human woman facing 6 armed warriors. "The hero returns," the squad leader laughed. "Good. The ambassador wants you specifically. Surrender now and your death will be quick." Walked toward them, slow, steady steps. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. "I gave your ambassador a warning," she said. "He didn't listen. Now I'm going to give you a choice. Let these people go, walk away, live. There are 6 of us and 1 of you. I know. That's why I'm giving you a chance to surrender." The soldiers looked at each other. Some of them laughed, but one didn't, a young warrior at the back of the group. He had heard stories about what happened to the guards who tried to fight this human. "I saw the report," he said quietly. "She's EDF, Earth Defense Forces, Special Operations." "She's one small female," another soldier said. "She disabled 4 guards in 3 seconds. The squad leader raised his weapon. "Enough talk, take her." Nobody moved. Smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Your soldier is smart," she said. "He knows what I am. Do you know what Earth Defense Forces does? We train for situations exactly like this. Outnumbered, surrounded by enemies. We learn to turn disadvantages into advantages." She took another step forward. The soldiers stepped back. "On Earth, we have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog." "What is a dog?" one soldier asked. "A predator we domesticated. We made killers into our friends, because that's what humans do. We don't run from dangerous things. We learn to use them." She stopped walking, 5 meters between her and the soldiers. "Here's what's going to happen. 3 of you are going to lower your weapons and walk away. You'll live long lives and tell your children about the day you met a human and had the wisdom to be afraid. And the other 3? The other 3 are going to learn why Earth is classified as a..." Silence. Then the young soldier lowered his weapon. He stepped back, turned, and walked away. After a moment, 2 more followed him. 3 soldiers remained, the squad leader and 2 others. Their pride was stronger than their fear. "Fools," the squad leader said about his retreating comrades. "We'll deal with them later. Now, human, let's see what you can really do." He raised his weapon and fired. But wasn't there any more? She moved like water flowing around the energy blast, closing the distance in a heartbeat. Her hand found the squad leader's weapon and redirected it into the second soldier's leg. He screamed and fell. The third soldier swung his claws, ducked, grabbed his arm, and used his momentum to throw him into the wall. His shell cracked against the metal. The squad leader tried to hit her with the butt of his weapon. She caught his arm, twisted, and pulled. The joint bent in a direction it wasn't designed to go. He dropped the weapon and screamed, picked up the weapon, and pointed it at his head. "I told you," she said. Her voice wasn't even slightly tired. "There won't be a third warning." She didn't fire. Instead, she hit him once in the head. He collapsed unconscious. The whole fight had taken 8 seconds. Helped the human family to their feet. The mother was crying. The father stared at her with shock and respect, looked at her like she was seeing something impossible. "Are you okay?" asked. Nodded slowly. "How did you do that?" "Practice, lots of practice." Looked at the fallen soldiers. "We need to move, more will come. Can you walk?" They could. Led them through the corridors toward the Starling. Her comm device crackled. It was voice. "The station's residents are gathering. They saw what you did. They want to fight. Tell them to meet at Cargo Bay 7, and—" "Yes." "Start preparing the Starling. We're going to need her engines running at full power." "For what?" Looked out a window at the massive warship hovering near the station. "For the second warning." Cargo Bay 7 was full. Aliens of dozens of species stood together, waiting. Merchants, engineers, traders, workers and shopkeepers and refugees. All of them had lived in fear of the for too long. All of them were ready for something to change. Stood on a cargo container looking down at the crowd. Stood beside her, along with Bora and the others who had joined their cause. "I know you're afraid," said. Her voice was clear and steady. "They are powerful. They have ships and soldiers and weapons. They've conquered hundreds of worlds. They want you to believe you can't fight them." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But I'm going to tell you something about power. Real power doesn't come from weapons or ships. It comes from will. The will to stand up even when you're scared. The will to say no to those who try to control you. The will to protect the people you care about." The crowd was silent, listening. On Earth, we have a history full of moments like this. Moments when ordinary people faced impossible odds. And do you know what happened? They won. Not always, not easily, but enough times that we learned something important. She smiled. "Bullies only win when you let them." A cheer rose from the crowd. It started small but grew louder. "Here's the plan," continued. "We can't fight the warship directly, but we don't have to. We just need to make them realize that taking this station will cost them more than they're willing to pay." She explained the plan quickly and clearly. The engineers would work on the station's systems. The merchants would distribute weapons hidden throughout the market. The medical teams would set up emergency stations. Everyone had a job. Everyone was needed. And would deliver the message. 1 hour later, she walked alone to the station's communications center. Had wanted to come, but she refused. This was something she had to do herself. She sat down at the main console and opened a channel to the warship. Ambassador's face appeared on the screen. Behind him stood Commander and several other officers. They looked angry and impatient. "Human," said, "your deadline has passed. You have failed to surrender. The station will now face consequences." "Before you do anything stupid," said calmly, "I think you should listen to what I have to say." "You have nothing to say that interests me." "Really? Then let me tell you something interesting." She leaned forward. "While your soldiers were searching for me, my people were busy. My brother is an engineer. He spent the last 6 hours placing explosive charges on your ship's docking clamps. Right now, there are enough explosives attached to your hull to blow a hole the size of a shuttle bay." His eyes widened. "Impossible, our sensors would have detected." "Your sensors are looking for weapons and threats. They're not looking for tiny maintenance robots that happen to be carrying small packages. Earth technology is different from yours, Ambassador. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years. We've gotten very creative." Commander was already shouting orders to check the ship's exterior. That's not all, continued. Doctor, a human physician on this station, has created a special gift for you, a medical virus designed specifically for biology. It's already been uploaded to your life support systems. Within 6 hours, every on your ship will be too sick to fight. Fever, weakness, loss of coordination. Not fatal, but definitely unpleasant. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your medical bay. I think you'll find some of your crew is already showing symptoms. Turned to one of his officers, who was frantically working on a console. The officer's face showed fear. Sir, she's not lying. We're detecting foreign biological agents in the air filtration system, and structural analysis confirms. There are devices attached to our hull, 23 separate charges. The bridge went silent. Smiled. I told your ambassador there wouldn't be a third warning. I meant it. My species has a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. I've been speaking softly, ambassador. Now let me show you the stick. She pressed a button on the console. The view changed to show the station's cargo bay. Hundreds of aliens stood there, armed and ready. Different species, different sizes, different shapes, but all of them united, all of them looking at the camera with defiance in their eyes. These people are not your prey, said. They're not your victims, they're your equals, and they're done being afraid. She leaned back in her chair. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to deactivate your weapons. You're going to recall all your soldiers from the station. Then you're going to leave. You'll go back to your dominion and tell them what happened here. Tell them that the people of Seven said no. Tell them that humans stood with their neighbors and fought back. And tell them this. Her voice dropped lower, colder. The next human you meet might not be as patient as I was. Ambassador stared at her. His compound eyes reflected the images of the armed resistance, the explosive charges, the virus spreading through his ship. He had been a conqueror all his life. He had never faced defeat. But he was smart enough to know when he had lost. Commander, he said slowly, recall our forces, prepare to disengage. Sir, you heard me. The communication ended. Sat in the quiet room for a moment, letting out a long breath. Her hands were shaking slightly. She had been trained for moments like this, but training never fully prepared you for the real thing. The door opened, rushed in, followed by Bora, and did it work? Asked. Watch. Through the window, they could see the warship slowly powering down its weapons. Shuttles began returning from the station. The massive vessel started to turn away. Bora made a sound of pure joy and threw her arms around. You did it. You actually did it. Smiled, looking exhausted but happy. I wasn't sure the virus would work. I only had basic research to work from. It worked enough to scare them, said. Sometimes that's all you need. Put his hand on his sister's shoulder. I'm proud of you, and also angry at you for risking your life, but mostly proud. I learned from the best. She smiled at him. Remember what Dad used to say, the Lee family doesn't run from problems, we solve them. Usually he meant fixing broken engines, not facing alien warships. Same principle. They watched the ship move away from the station. Slowly at first, then faster as it powered up its engines and headed for open space. Later that day, the station celebrated. Music played in the corridors. People danced and laughed and cried with relief. For the first time in weeks, they felt safe. Found sitting alone on a cargo container, looking at the stars. Miss, the teenager said softly, can I ask you something? Of course. Are all humans like you? Laughed softly. It was a warm sound. No, most of us are much worse. I'm one of the nice ones. That's terrifying. It's supposed to be. That's how we survive. Sat down next to her. Will they come back? Maybe, probably not here. They learned their lesson. Looked at the girl. But even if they do, we'll be ready. That's the thing about humans. We remember, we learn, and we never ever give up. Far away, on the retreating warship, Commander sat alone in his quarters. He was writing a report that would be sent to every corner of the Dominion. The title was simple: Recommendation: Avoid Human-Controlled Space. Threat Level: Absolute. In the report, he wrote about a small woman with calm eyes who defeated warriors twice her size, about a species that came from a world that tried to kill them every day, about creatures who made pets of predators and faced death with smiles. He wrote about Earth, and at the end, he added a personal note. The humans are not like other species. They do not respond to threats with submission. They do not accept domination. When pressed, they become more dangerous, not less. We have encountered many species in our history. None have worried me like this one. My advice is simple: do not make them angry. You will not like what they become. He sent the report and turned off his console. Behind him, the station called 7 grew smaller and smaller, until it was just a point of light among the stars. A point of light where something incredible had happened. A point of light where a girl gave a warning. And the galaxy listened.